and Breakdowns.
Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast, the show with hot questions and even hotter drinks. I mean, that's not us, isn't it? But today, I mean, close enough. Today we got a familiar face, and I'm excited. We have John back from Freaky Ferments.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how you been, John?
I'm doing good. So I was joking earlier that like I honestly think I'm pregnant. Like that's really the only thing I can think of because like I traditionally just like eat like our milder sauces like Verde, Daily Driver, smoking, but like I've been all about Ghost. So there is a bottle of Ghost I have in my cabinet that has been there for a year.
Yeah.
And I finished it in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. The whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing. And I mean, like, they're not huge bottles, so it's not that, like, impossible to do, but
that's like you putting either it on everything or a lot of it.
Yeah, well, it's a lot on everything. And so, like, I'm just real worried to take, like, my, like, pee on a stick because, like, I don't want to find out I'm pregnant. So.
Oh, my gosh. Well, congratulations if it is.
Yeah, I mean, and like, hell, I mean, like, Oprah will probably come back on TV just to invite me on, being, like, the first man to like be pregnant. So
well, maybe you shouldn't be having all this spicy stuff that we have here.
I think you're allowed a glass of wine a day.
So, yeah, this might have a little bit more kick than that. But yeah, so a cool thing when we were talking about doing the podcast again is that you were saying like, oh, like some of these, because we did last time you were here, we did like some, just tacos and we were like adding some sauces on it.
I still think about those.
Which I realized we did 6 tacos. I'm like, it's quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it was great.
It was a good time. But you were like this time, like, oh, some of them might like go well with drinks, and I'm like, oh, like DJ, my roommate and like business partner, like also does mixology. So I'm like, hey, we got some sauces. Tell me what you can come up with. So we came up with like 3 different things. The first thing that we made is going to be a play on like what's called paleta shots, which honestly, last time when you were talking about fire melon, because this one's made with the fire melon.
Yep.
This one, you were talking about like the Mexican candy that's like sweet, and then so that's what a paleta is, and that's what like so the shot is like a kind of a reference to that. So that's why I thought that made perfect sense.
Is that the Mexican candy shot?
Yes, yeah, okay. That's what that is. Yeah,
because literally, like I've been at like because like I typically do our markets, so like I go out to like Dallas Farmers Market or whatever, and like since we've because like every summer we do fire melon, and so like since we brought it back, like at every market there's been at least one person that was like, oh, this would be great in a Mexican candy shot.
Yeah.
But like I didn't know that's what.
Well, that's what. Yeah, because paleta just means lollipop, and that's what like they came from those little. Well, they make them in all like sizes or whatever, but the one that's the most popular is that watermelon one covered with like the spice and everything. So that's kind of what this is. So we'll try this.
Cheers. Oh my God.
Daniel, you have outdone yourself.
Yeah. Props. Oh my God.
That's really good. Oh, yeah. This is the first time I'm trying them too. I waited because like I want to try them at the same time.
Oh man.
This was supposed to be a shot, by the way. And I was like, you know what? Just pour. It's basically there. Wow, that's actually really. Oh, that spice is really good. Yeah. I'm glad I decided to put more. Like you were like, oh, but more than 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely paid off.
Oh man, that's good.
That's really good. Yeah, but so I mean, I guess really quickly, like you are getting geared for State Fair season.
Yes. So as recording, this is the day before the State Fair starts, and so this past Monday, a couple of us, Matt and Justin, they went out and kind of did the initial setup. And then today, I went out earlier and checking to make sure we're recording.
I'm paranoid.
100%. And so like today, I went out there and kind of finished up. Matt came by and helped me get across the finish line, which was greatly appreciated. Because like I haven't like before coming here, what I ate was the only thing I've had to eat today, and so I was just like running out of steam. And yeah, so we're in Grand Place, which is like the air conditioned building right next to Big Tex.
Okay.
And so we're in there. We're booth 64. We're kind of like right behind the like Mattress Firm and like massage chair booths.
Yeah.
And so it's like the first third of the building, I think, is just like that. And so we're right next to them. And so, but this is our first time at the State Fair.
So I was about to ask, so you're the one normally out at all the markets and stuff like that. So is this kind of going to be like the biggest event so far that you've been a part of?
Like, honestly, this will probably be the biggest event that we've ever done. Like this past year, we were at the World Trade Center. So we actually got a permanent booth there. We spent a lot of money to learn that wasn't the right move.
Oh, no.
But hey, I mean, like, you learn.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because honestly, for us, that's like a big part of this. It's a learning opportunity. And so the state fair is kind of like a trade show / market. So like a trade show, which was like the World Trade Center, you have like this really nice kind of setup, to kind of professionally and almost like at a retail level, like display your product. But at like the World Trade Center, we were only selling to like wholesalers. So we were only selling to like stores and things like that. Like, average Joe Blow couldn't come in there and be like, I want to buy a bottle. Yeah. It would have to be like, I want to buy like 10 cases, which I mean is nice when that happens. And but yeah, I mean, like, State Fair is probably the biggest event that we've done. It will be the longest. So like last year we did the Fort Worth Stock Show, and that one was 21 days, and I think the State Fair is like 22. So it's like
just right above
longer. Yeah. But like the Stock Show was like real simple. Like the level of polish that your booth needs to look at the Stock Show is not really what it is at the State Fair. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I went out today, is because the State Fair was kind of my thing to handle, and I took a lot of assumptions. I just assumed it was going to be like the Stock Show or kind of just like a more advanced market. Yeah. And so like that's why today, like, I went by and really tried to like make it just look nicer. So we have like a couple tables. We have all of our sauce like neatly like tiered on shelves and displayed and things like that. So but yeah, but I get to avoid the State Fair for like the first week and a half because like
you're not going to be here.
Yeah, because I'm going to be in Korea, and so my
wild.
Buddy, so South Korea, not Best Korea, and so. Just in case if the Supreme Leader is listening. But yeah, so my buddy Nathan's getting married, and so I'm going to be on a plane on Saturday and freaking out for 15 hours. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a 15-hour flight.
Yeah. And like, I don't like planes. And so if you haven't, because like I won't do it because I don't really remember his full bit, but like John Mulaney does a bit on how to get a prescription of Valium.
Oh, yeah.
And it's that you go to the doctor and say, sometimes I get nervous on airplanes. And like the whole bit is about him just like having an anxiety attack while trying to like lie and get Valium, which also the fact that like now it's come out that like he was like addicted to drugs and cocaine and stuff makes that story way more sense and also sadder.
It's kind of sadder because it's like, oh, so you figured it out.
Yeah. So you've been doing this to like to help your problem. But yeah, so like I'll be on a flight and then I'll be there for like a week and a half, and like my wife Mary and I are going. It's honestly it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm just gonna like pull out my Nintendo Switch and just play Persona 5 Royal for like 15 hours, and I'm probably only going to get like 2% more through that game. So it's like it's one of those like 140-hour games. Yeah. And like 15 hours.
That seems like the move. You know?
Yeah, it's not even going to be a dent. And so, and then I think too, I'm going to like download all of the Ahsoka series that's out thus far because I haven't watched any of it.
Yeah, I haven't started.
My friends on Facebook are like, because like I'm a big Star Wars fan, and so like my friends on Facebook have been like losing their mind over it. And and it's like I'm trying not to see spoilers, and so the goal is to play a bunch of Persona, watch a little bit of Star Wars, and try not to think about the fact that I'm 35,000 feet in the air and that if anything happens, I'm just going to die.
Yeah, I actually have only taken that I remember because I took a flight when I was a baby. But that doesn't count because it doesn't count. But as an adult, I've only taken I guess 2 flights because it was a round trip. But I was just like in the fascination thing because like I was going. I went to LA and I was just flying out there, and I've driven everywhere my whole life. Like my brain, when I think about going somewhere, my first thought is like, oh, okay, it'll be this many hours driving. I'm like, that's not too bad. Blah, blah. And I've driven. The most I've been on the road had been like 21 hours, like before, and it was rough, but you know, it was doable. But it's the first time on a flight, And I was just fascinated. I kept like looking out the window and stuff like that. And then like person I was with, they were like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "You don't fucking understand. We're in a metal box floating through the damn air." Like, I was like, "That's what it is." And then there was one part where I'm just like, sitting there, and then it's turbulence, right? So it starts getting bumpy. And in my head, again, I've driven everywhere. I've taken buses, so I'm like, "Oh, this is a bumpy road." Hold on. I was like, there are no roads.
This is a bumpy road and 35,000 feet up in the air.
I was like, this doesn't make sense. And I just started freaking out. I was like, okay, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be. And luckily, I mean, that's only like a 2.5, 3 hour flight, which I'm like, as soon as I took that, I was like, I'm never driving anywhere again. I'm like, I would like that, but 15 hours is a long time to be.
Yeah, I actually, so we had to buy compression socks because when you're sitting for 15 hours, and also like airplanes are cabin pressurized, right? So that way the tin can doesn't do that. And so like you can actually develop blood clots in your legs. So like we're going to have to put on compression socks, I think like a couple hours in. Or maybe at like the halfway point.
Yeah.
I need to like double check. And then like get up, walk around, do things like that to hopefully prevent us from getting blood clots.
Yeah.
Because, that's like a thing. It's all through my head where I'm like,
did they tell you that, or you had to like look that up?
Yeah, so like Nathan's fiance Stacy messaged us, and she was like, "By the way, get compression socks. They have cute ones." And I'm just like, "Neat." I guess that will distract me from the fact that like if I don't wear them, I could get a blood clot in my leg.
Just get some cute ones.
Just order some cute ones, and so I'll be doing that, and coming back, and so but like Nathan lives on this little island south of South Korea. I actually think it's like the southernmost point of South Korea, and it's called Jeju. Yeah. It's a little island. There's like a volcano in the middle, and it's just like a beautiful, kind of like picturesque island. And it's got like I was actually talking to Mom about it on the way here, and it's got like 650,000 people like on the island.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like because like every time I talk to Nathan about it, like in my mind, it was just like 50,000 people,
like super remote.
Remote, really rural. But it's but actually, like the island. Granted, I mean the island might be huge. Like also in my mind, I'm thinking it's like this big. And so who knows? The island might actually be pretty large. So still, 650,000 people may not seem like a lot, because I think like Dallas proper is like 1 million.
1 million, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which it's nuts because I judging like populations in like places, like I am never like if I just see the number, I don't know what that means, like what it looks like.
Well, actually, I want to say it's like above 10,000, your brain cannot comprehend. Like there's like an actual like cognitive block, like you're just not able to actually like visualize or understand. And so because that's one of the problems with actually like understanding money. Yeah, is that so 1 million is 1,000,000, right? 1 billion is 1,000 million, and 1 trillion is 1,000 billion, right? And so like in like a quadrillion is 1,000 trillion and that kind of stuff, right? And so it's like, okay, it's like, okay, well, like that kind of like shows scale, but like when it's something like money, like $1 trillion is just like an obscene amount of money.
No. Because again, what you're saying right now, like I can't fathom.
Yeah, and the thing is, like you can't actually like think about like what that even means, because that number is just so large. Yeah. So to like fully understand like what 1 trillion is, or even like 100,000. Yeah. Like I mean, like you could like put like 100,000 things like in front of a person, and then they could kind of like understand it. But that's like a stretch. Like your brain can't really like very much discern the difference between like 100,000 and 50,000.
In size, yeah, probably not. I mean,
like you could physically see it, but like to cognitively like process it, like your brain just is like it's more.
Yeah, so I worked at a bank for fucking 11 years, and I was like when I was a teller, and I would go back and we'd get like vault deposits and all this stuff. I'd like hold like maybe like just for like reasons I'd hold like maybe $200,000-$300,000 and it's like a stack like this big. Yeah. And I'm like, this is someone's house, like a decent house somewhere, and I'm like, and I go, it's just this. I go, it's just like paper stack. Like it's not like anything impressive. Like it would happen to me always. Every time I was holding, I'm like, this is this much, or like a pack of like 50,000. Like, oh, this is a car. Like, this little thing.
Or
right
like that sack of like 300,000. It's like, oh, this is a mediocre Lamborghini.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's really wild to like put it into perspective like that. But you're talking about people. This is just I'm getting into weird thoughts here. But
no, you're good.
When you're talking about like not comprehending like the amount of like people in like places, that happens to me a lot when I travel. So I'll go to like another city or another state or anything like that, and I'm just like. It's the dumbest thought, but it's like people are just out here just like living their own lives, right? Like outside of like where I am, where in my head when I'm like here, I'm like, oh, people are living like in this immediate area. And then you hear about people like everywhere else, like, but then you go somewhere else like, oh no, it's happening over there. Like it's so weird that like how many people like are out there and just like trying to do similar things to what you do, having the similar thoughts, and like it's a lot of people.
Well, and that's the thing is too, is like, because like I think that kind of stuff like plays into like the simulation theory, right? That it's like we all live in a simulation. But with that, it's like who's prime? Like who's the real person? Like if this is a simulation, it's pretty arrogant of you to think that you're the prime person. And so, and actually, like my buddy Nathan and his brother Rex and I, like from high school, we would hang out and talk about philosophy and stuff. And so, like, we've talked about like simulation theory a whole lot. But like and so there's like you can't prove that this is real. You can't prove that you're alive. You can't prove that you're sentient. You can't prove any of those things. You just believe it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's actually like, I want to say there's actually like a mental disease or like mental illness where it's like the belief or the fascination with things like simulation theory and that kind of stuff. Like you can't not believe it. Like you can't like not separate that from you. And like, and it actually like takes over your mind and like, you don't think you're alive or real or things like that. And so like, it's like actual mental illness. And so, but I think you actually have to like have a mental illness initially, something like schizophrenia or things like that, or to
where like maybe like develops.
Where it's an elevation of that or a development of that. But like that's like the crazy thing is like you can't prove you're alive.
Yeah, I mean there's no way to prove it.
Well, and then even like on a more like philosophical level, like what does alive even mean? Right. True. So like. Being hooked up to a ventilator, you are technically alive. But like none of your body, like, but you're not in control of your bodily functions. Are you alive? Yeah.
Again, like there's something other than just your bodily functions, like making this like essence of a person.
That's a whole other thing, right? Because like you're not even control of your own thoughts, and you're not even in control of your own body because it's all chemical and electrical reactions happening in your brain. So, like, are you actually in control, or is it all just a series of chemical reactions and electrical reactions happening in your brain? And if it is, like, what's in control of that? Right, and which kind of like leads into like which kind of like leads into like biological predisposition, right? Not predisposition, biological like or just like predetermination or like predeterminism, where it's like there is no free will because everything has been set in motion before you. You cannot change it. You cannot affect it. It's put you on the path that you're on. Yeah. And so like to a degree, like that kind of like if you just kind of give up the notion that you are in control and it's just chemicals and things like that, like that's a part of like that like biological predetermination. Like you are not actually in control. You're just like
reacting. It's just like a complete
you're just reacting.
Series of chemical
the
reactions.
fact that you have like a consciousness is just like okay, but like is that even in control? Because like your chemical, like the chemical and electrical reactions happening in your brain are what's causing that consciousness. So like, are you, and which again, like, and like going back to like the simulation theory stuff, it's like all these things kind of compound upon each other on this question of like, are you alive? Like, are you real? Is this real? Right. Or even like beyond that, like what happens when you die? Is there even death if you're not real? Or if you're not alive? Can you be dead if you're not alive? or if you were never alive. So yeah.
So everything is pointless. That'll be it for the podcast. Why are we even doing this?
Wrap it
Let's
up.
Just get no, I have that, like, it's funny because you're like, oh, like the ego to be like, oh, I'm the prime in the simulation. But I do have that from time to time where I'm like, if I am, I look at people like accomplishing awesome stuff and I'm like, I did that. It's like, it's all coming from here.
That's me. Aren't I the most?
I'm like, wow, like I did that and I don't even know that I'm doing it. Like,
it's like, aren't I the most gracious person? I let that guy, my imagination let him win the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm a good guy.
I'm a good guy. I'm okay here being simple.
Yeah, and so also I just absolutely love Tahini and Chamoy. So though your listeners didn't hear this last time, I went on like a 35-minute rant about Indiana because that's where I'm from, and like Tahini and Chamoy is just not a thing there, especially for white people. I mean, like, especially white people in like the middle, like the Midwest, like, they're not going to know this exists.
Yeah.
And so. And I just wish like I had grown up with this because it is so good.
And I like grew up with it on everything. Like the people like make fun of it, but like, oh, like even like the candy is spicy, like in like Hispanic culture and like definitely Mexican culture. And I'm like, yeah. And I grew up like that's what candy like was to me. So like it was like everything was dipped into some sort of either chamoy or like, again, fruits and stuff like that. Everything is like has something on it. Yeah.
So I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, but like 2 years ago was the first time I ever had like fruit with tahini and chamoy on it.
Oh my god!
And it like blew my mind. Like it was like the best pineapple and like the best watermelon and like the best mango I've ever had.
Yeah.
Was like it with tahini and chamoy on it. And it just blew my mind, which actually, not to like pivot back to like my hot sauce.
Yeah.
But that's actually what inspired our fire melon sauce. Is that people were sending us photos of them eating Ghost on watermelon with tahini.
Yeah, so I remember
or like watermelon with chamoy.
Mm-hmm.
And so and like Taylor, I think, is the one that came up with that sauce. And so like literally that's what inspired it. And like what's crazy is so like fire melon starts off as a 30-gallon batch of Ghost.
Yeah,
that we then add literally an entire pallet of watermelon to.
That's one thing you were saying last time is that you actually do use like fruit, like in the actual hot sauce.
So no artificial flavors, colorings, things like that. And like when I mean like pallet, like what you see at like Walmart.
Yeah, like
right,
the giant
where it's like there's like 40, 50 watermelons in it, and so we buy South Texas watermelons because we're a Texas company, and we actually wait till the last possible week because that's when they're most ripe. So like this, this batch of fire melon didn't actually come out until like August.
Oh, okay.
But that's because it takes a month to make our sauce, and like the last week in which we could get watermelons was like in like first or second week of July.
Oh wow!
And so. And also with all the heat and everything that we've been having, like they were just unbelievably sweet. And like,
really?
And like, oh yeah, because I think it's like the hotter the environment, the sweeter it makes the watermelons. And so, and I'm sure like South Texas, it was probably like way more fucking hot. Because like being from Indiana, I'm not about 115 degree days every day for like 3 months, and so or like 2 months. Yeah, but literally, it's an entire pallet of watermelon. We blend it up, and then we put it in the sauce.
Wow. Yeah. You're talking about the weather, man. I was driving actually down the street today, and I was just like, oh, like I looked at the weather, and I'm like, it's nice not seeing triple digits. Like when I'm satisfied, it's still like 92, but I'm like, this is nice out here. Like,
I feel like it's living with like an abusive partner, where it's like, they didn't hit me today.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I'm like, and that's
kind of
because it's one of those things where it's like, oh. It's only 99.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. Well, and I think, what was it, like 3 weeks ago or so when we had like that push of rain and it was like really cool.
It's like in the high 80s. And in the morning, I woke up one day, it was 62. And I'm just like.
Yeah, like I opened up our windows and in our house and I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. It just blew my mind. And then it was like at the end of that week, it was back to being like
back to regular. Yeah. It's
punishment.
It's on the way out. Hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is.
But yeah. So anyway. Yeah, sorry to go on that rant about simulation theory. And
We're not
stuff.
real. We're not in charge of our own thoughts.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you want to do.
Who knows? On this next
even...
drink, we could talk about Plato and his Republic.
Oh, no.
So, which actually, fun little aside on that. So, like, my buddy Nathan and I, and like Rex, like one night we were talking about Plato's Republic. Which, if you've ever seen like Battle Royale, like the Japanese film, phenomenal. It's unbelievably brutal.
I've not seen that one, but that's like what Hunger Games like.
Yes, I was going to say like Hunger Games,
it was like Battle Royale.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So like they're all, or like the Divergent series, especially the Divergent series, they're all based on Plato's Republic, and like Plato's Republic was written by Plato to not really to be like a blueprint for society, but a blueprint for governing and ruling oneself. And so his society was structured in tiers, and so you had the philosopher king, which was like a benevolent dictator, which like doesn't exist. And then you basically have like enforcers that enforce the laws, and then you have like the workers or like the artisan class. But because the dictator is benevolent, the society is a utopia.
Yeah.
But like Plato's Republic has been like used to like justify things like slavery and all sorts of like really terrible things, because it's like these people are in these places because that's where they belong.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but like whenever because I get very tangenty, and Nathan does too, and so whenever we tangent off of like something completely random, we are like, one of us looks at the other and is like, well, going back to Plato's Republic, because like that night where we were going to talk about Plato's Republic, we probably talked about 50 other things than Plato's Republic.
Oh my god.
And so so going back to Plato's Republic, we have hot sauce.
So that's that's like the safe word or warning.
Yes,
like, hey, all right, we need to reel it back.
It's like, whoa, we've tangented for a really long time. So, but friends, like with like those of you that have seen like the Hunger Games, like the capital or like those like top districts would be like the philosopher kings and the enforcer class, like the people that go out to like district 12 or 13 or whatever it is, and like make them like sacrifice their children and stuff. Like those would be the enforcers, and like the different like districts kind of represent the different kinds of artisans, right?
Yeah.
And so and like the Divergent series is that even just more specific. And so a lot of your like dystopia writing is like partly based off of Plato's Republic, because it was kind of written as like the first utopia.
Interesting.
I don't believe it was the first utopia story or like utopia writing, but I think it was one of the first. And also like I forget the exact definition or like origin of the word utopia, but basically it means a like city that is impossible to reach. Like it's an impossible goal.
Yeah.
But like that was like the original definition, and then it was made to just be like the perfect city. Which is kind of funny, because like that's where like dystopian story has come from, is that you cannot create a perfect society.
Yeah.
And that's like what the original definition about was it's more like the journey than the destination. It's like trying to get to perfection, but never ultimately reaching it. I mean, like, don't at me, viewers, if I'm like way off base, but I want to say that was like its origin stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it literally does. Like every time you hear like a dystopian story, it's always like someone trying to do this perfect society, but people suck and like power corrupts like so much and so easily. Like
what a wild revelation! Like it's people are terrible.
Yeah, that's not a revelation, man. Everybody knows that. Like it's just that's what is it? Someone, I can't remember like what I was listening to. But it was someone saying like that they are a bad person, but they know that, and every day like they counteract that and try to be a good person. It's like so, and then they were like someone who is innately good or thinks like it's good. Like it's a lot easier for like that person than the one person like actively trying to like do it every day, and like it's like, oh, I know this is shitty. That's what like people.
Well, I would argue that person is probably more good.
Yeah,
because they're actively trying.
Yeah, and that's why like people who are like, oh no, I don't do anything bad, or like it makes no sense to me, because I'm like that how do you like? I feel like just in thinking that like you're already like on the wrong path of like feeling like you're better than someone else, which is already like you're wrong, like, and you are being terrible like right now.
Well, and that thing is like, so like I was a Boy Scout, started off in Cub Scouts, and like I mean like granted like the Boy Scouts has its problems, but But I honestly think like that, and also just how I was raised from my parents and my grandparents and stuff. But like there is like a big focus on like continual personal improvement towards being good.
Yeah.
Or like towards being like moral or like however you define your morality, right? Like just trying to be like a good, productive member of society who like is helpful and stuff, right? And so for me, like it's one of those things where it's like I guess like my love language is being helpful. Like if I can help people doing things, it just like makes my day. But it actively takes trying to be good every day. So like I think it's like the slogan, because the motto is be prepared, but I want to say the slogan of the Boy Scouts, if I remember correctly, is do a good turn daily, which is just every day do something good for someone else. Yeah. Or do just something good in general. And so like that's one of the things like I try to do. I'm not saying like I'm good at it or I do it every day. But yeah, granted, I'm like 32, so like I've been out of Scouts for like 14 years and like I still try to do it a little bit. I am 32, right? Wait.
How old are you?
Is it 2023?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm 32. So like my wife has to like remind me like how old I am like every time I have to think about it.
I think once I turned 30, like I was like, didn't matter.
I thought I was like 21 for like 3 years.
I forgot. Yeah, I think the ages I went, I think it was like 21 I knew, and then after that, like I think 25 is when I knew my age again, and then I think I was 27 until I was 30, and not like I was pretending to. I was just like, that's just
like the same thing.
That's just like my where my head was at until like I was like, oh no, I'm 30, and then after like literally after 30, I'm just like it's just. Like the only reason I am able to know like pretty quickly is because like I was born in 1990, so it's always like the year.
Yeah,
like
I'm 91,
2023, so it's like so I'm like I just turned 33 actually a couple weeks ago.
Oh, happy birthday!
Oh, thank you. But like I'm like it's just like it's like I'm still like that same person I was like a few years ago, sort of, you know what I mean? But
and that's one of the things too is like, well, do you feel a year older? And it's like, well, no, I just kind of feel like me. However, on my 30th birthday, I woke up with a migraine. My back somehow got twisted and pulled in the middle of the night. My right knee froze up, and and I think I had like acid reflux. And like the night before, like I went to bed early. Yeah. Like didn't like drink anything, didn't overeat or anything. Like I don't know what happened, but like on my 30th birthday, it was like I got hit with like a sledgehammer. Oh no. Okay. So I was like, oh God, is this what like the rest of my life
this is 30
like? This is awful. And so thankfully my subsequent birthdays haven't been like
nice. All right, we're gonna take a pause and prepare the next drink, and we'll be right back.
Excellent.
Okay, we're back. We fixed it. We got a drink here. Yes. This one is called what did this guy call it? It's just a strawberry guava lemonade with the the strawberry bonnet.
Yes,
strawberry bonnet. All right.
So
a little bit about that one.
So Strawberry Bonnet is one of our brand new sauces. So it and Hot Fuzz, which we'll try next, are two brand new sauces this year. So that's why they don't really have the cool labels. I did them. Which I mean, like my job is like video production, graphic design and stuff. But like so my buddy Taylor and also another friend of mine, Jordan, who's doing two new labels for us for a couple other sauces. Like they're phenomenal illustrators. And so I basically threw those labels together real fast. But Strawberry Bonnet is a strawberry scotch bonnet with basil and lemon. It also contains Aleppo peppers from Turkey. And so Aleppos are a sun-dried pepper. Okay. And they kind of have this like nice mellow fruitiness to them. So like the way I like to describe Strawberry Bonnet is it's very, very, very fruity because we reduce the strawberries before bottling. And which helps bring out the sweetness. And the more you eat it or drink it, the more you notice the basil and the lemon. And that's and actually that's what inspired it. Were cocktails made with strawberry, basil, and lemon.
Yeah, it's very common in like cocktails and stuff.
Yes, and but like this sauce has like a fuck ton of Scotch bonnets in it, and it's actually like it's our first Scotch bonnet sauce, which you would think like a hot sauce company like it would take them like 4 years to make a Scotch bonnet sauce. Yeah. But the thing is like we make our stuff with ingredients when they're in season. And Scotch bonnets kind of have like a very specific season in which they're available, especially strawberries, right? I mean, like strawberries are only available a certain time of year, unless you're okay with like getting like crappy strawberries from somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, just in general, Scotch bonnets are hard to find because like white people don't eat them.
So I'm gonna play like the I don't know card. Scotch bonnet.
Okay, so Scotch bonnets are kind of similar to habanero. They're about similar heat and that kind of stuff. But Scotch bonnets are like a Caribbean pepper. So like Jamaicans, like Scotch bonnet and fruit is like a cornerstone of like Caribbean, but like especially like Jamaican food. So like jerk chicken patties, like that kind of stuff. And like I actually have like family friends that have lived all over the world. Their mom worked for the State Department, and when she retired, I want to say her like equivalent rank was like a colonel, which is really kind of funny.
Oh yes.
And she was like the number 3 like American in Jamaica, like when they retired, or like when she retired. And she and her family had been to Jamaica multiple times. That's actually where they met their first son Ian, because they adopted him from there. And they originally they were just in the Peace Corps. And so like I've had like quite a bit of like Jamaican food from them, and either that like Mark makes or that they would bring back and stuff. Like I absolutely love Jamaican patties. Have you ever had a Jamaican patty?
I don't think so.
So it's basically like puff pastry filled with either like jerk chicken or like ground beef with like seasonings and things like that. It's amazing.
I need to try that.
Yeah, and like you bake them, or like I think you can even like deep fry them, but like we would always just bake them. Like amazing. Like I could eat my weight in Jamaican patties and still have room. Like they're unbelievably good. And actually there's a place at the Dallas Farmers Market. It's like, I think it's like a Trinidad restaurant. It's inside like the big building where they have like the restaurants and stuff. Yeah. And they are amazing. And like they're almost sold out immediately.
Really?
So, oh yeah. And it's because like people flock, like, cause like I've never actually had their jerk chicken ones, because like they're the first ones to go.
Wow.
Which I mean, like I like the beef ones, so like they're totally fine. But yeah, so like what we generally suggest for like Scotch bonnet is either like drinks like this, because you know cocktails are kind of what inspired it. But also like Caribbean foods, right? Because it's got Scotch bonnet and fruit, and also Cajun. Because like again, like Cajun is like a mix of fusion of like French and Caribbean and like Southern cooking, right? And so like we found that like Scotch bonnet tends to go really well in like that kind of food as well. And if you mix it with olive oil and lemon juice, it makes like a really nice, like albeit spicy, but a very nice salad dressing.
Yeah, this thing is honestly like caught me off guard, because it was, you know, it was the damn, honestly the artwork on all these is what caught me off guard. I was like, oh, look at this little strawberry. I forgot about the fire behind it. And I was trying them at first. I'm like, I just want to try the size, so I was like doing little drops on like my finger, and then that one, it took a drop, and I'm like immediately I was like, oh, like okay, like it's definitely not like tame. Like, it's very hot.
And that's because like Scotch bonnets will like hit you right up front, right? At least that we've noticed with our sauce and some others, right? Like Scotch bonnets are like boom, whereas like habaneros are like a creeping.
Yeah.
Right. And so, which is funny because they look kind of similar. They're about the same size. But like how they like attack you is very different. And even like compared to Ghost. So like our Ghost sauce, you know, which is the Ghost Pepper Carolina Reaper sauce, it is a slow, long build sauce. And so a lot of people think that our Scotch bonnet is hotter than Ghost. I think they're wrong.
Really?
I think Ghost is hotter, but the difference is Scotch bonnet gets you right up front. Whereas like
so
Ghost,
it's a bigger shock factor.
Yeah, so whereas
right
it's like Ghost, you're like okay for a couple seconds, then it starts to attack you. I think like the maximum heatness, like or like heat level of Ghost, because like heatness isn't the word, is hotter than Scotch bonnet. I just think how they like attack your palate.
It's just different. Right up front with the
and that's the thing is too is that we lab test all of our sauces for like cleanliness, but to like check it, like to see if it's like safe to eat and things like that, right? Like I wonder how many of other, you know, local craft hot sauces do that. But we also but we also occasionally will have them sent out for their Scoville level, which is which is their heat level. And I can't remember if we talked about this last time, but, you know, but the Scoville unit scale originally was this subjective thing. Guy named Johnny Scoville was like, oh, it's kind of like this. And so then eventually they based off of capsaicin concentration per like milliliter or milligram or something. And there's no federal law to tell the truth.
Yeah, I remember you saying that last time. Where
Yeah.
so like technically you could put whatever on the bottle.
You could just put whatever you want on it.
Yeah.
And so, but there's an additional cost to actually have that done. I think it's like a few $100 a batch. And so we don't do it as often. We especially wouldn't do it on like brand new sauces like Hot Fuzz or Scotch Bonnet. But like we could tell you for the most part like which other sauces like just about where their Scoville level is, or like or at least like comparatively like where they lie in like level of heat. It's just for like because like those two sauces are experiments. So like traditionally what we would do is we would do like small batches and then kind of nail down how we want it to taste, and then we do a big batch. But you know, you only get Scotch Bonnets a very short amount. We had to like special order them, and again, it's because like white people don't eat them, and so, like we couldn't just get like a few Scotch Bonnets to do a test batch. It was like we had to get enough Scotch Bonnets to do like a full batch of like 60 gallons.
Oh wow!
And so, so it's a little bit of experiment. Like it and Hot Fuzz, like there are some things about it that we would like to improve. Not saying that they're bad.
Yeah.
Right. Because like the first time we made Fire Melon, it just didn't have enough watermelon in it. Like you could barely taste the watermelon in the sauce. And like Hot Fuzz is kind of like that. But like with Strawberry Bonnet, like honestly, it probably just needs a lot more basil. Because you can't really get the basil flavor that much, like on like initial taste. The more you eat it or drink it, the more you taste it. But
like the only way you're finding these things out is like by actually making like batches of these, and like you were saying, you couldn't order small amounts of them to try a small batch, so you're having to do a large batch, and then you know if that doesn't turn out, I mean, where you're gonna notice like, oh, this needs an improvement, you still have a giant batch of small.
Yeah, we still have a giant batch, but like what we take all these notes. That thing is too is like when we go to markets, like we ask people like, what did you think? If there's something you could improve upon it, what would that be? And like we take note of it, and then we use that the next time we make the sauce.
Yeah.
And so like this year, like Desert Heat, because like last year was the first time we made Desert Heat, and so with this year we actually added a lot more raspberry and lime to it, because just you couldn't really, because like cactus fruit is super subtle, like way more than like melon or things like that, and you couldn't really get a whole lot of the fruitiness unless you ate a bunch of it.
Oh, okay.
And so we like double or tripled the amount of raspberries that are in, and now you can actually like taste it. As well as like the Scorpion and Reaper peppers. And so, you know, it's small incremental improvements that we do. But like our mainline sauces, like, you know, jalapeno through Ghost, like jalapeno ginger or Daily Driver, Verde, Mango, and Ghost. Like those we've got them down to a science. We've made so many batches.
But also I'm assuming like it took the same sort of experimenting to get them to where they are.
Well, that's the thing is, because like we talked about last time, like I did not like Verde until we started roasting the Anaheim and Serranos. And like that was like a super game changer.
Yeah.
And we did that on a whim. We were like, you know, Verde sucks. I wonder what we could do. And so I think it was like Taylor was like, well, if you like roasted some of the peppers, and like completely changed the sauce for the better. And so yeah, and so I mean, like, you know, it's experimentation. You know, anyway, I want to drink this, so I'll stop.
I'm gonna try this. We'll see if this is the experimental one. I don't know if it's good. It's definitely weird.
It's kind of weird. I'm not mad at it.
Ooh, there it is.
Get that tingle.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
All right, DJ. Nice flipping the switch in there.
Strawberry
looks neat.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think this is bad at all. So
we just need to go back to drawing board, do some improvements,
which actually on this. So for those of your listeners and viewers that live in like the DFW area, there is there's a bar and restaurant in Fort Worth called The Post, and so they actually use Fire Melon and I think Ghost and a couple, I think like Smokin'. Yeah, on their drink menu.
So DJ works at The Post.
Oh, really? So that's so fucking cool. Okay.
So he was. That's what when you brought the idea, he was like, "Yeah, we already do some with it." I go, "But I'll come up with some new ones like for you that way for this." And I thought it was such a like cool idea, and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I want to keep like kind of messing with it because it's kind of neat, you know what I mean? Like to be able to use these like onto, and I remember like after the first podcast we had, I was going around and telling everybody like the thing like about Valentina and stuff like that. I was like, "You love that?" And it's like, "Look at the ingredients, like it's all vinegar."
Oh yeah, no. And that thing is actually, I think since then, in all of our limited sauces, we've actually eliminated vinegar.
Really?
Yep. So now it is just kombucha that we make ourselves. It's still at that same level, right? So it's like only that much of the bottle is kombucha.
Yeah.
Now in our mainline sauces, it's still apple cider vinegar, but again, it's about that much. You literally can't taste it, and that's because like our eventual goal is to eliminate vinegar. And because like kombucha is a fermented product,
Yeah.
so it's to only have like either like the actual raw fresh vegetable peppers, fruit, or other fermented products in it.
It's
so
still
like
on
kombucha,
brand.
right? And so and like we make it, and like I'll admit too, like that's something too where we're still getting the kombucha recipe right, because I mean it's literally just fermented sweet tea. We don't add any like other flavorings or things to it because like the sauce is the important part. But that is like one of the hurdles that we're bumping into is that although our kombucha is acidic enough, we're running into these issues where it's like when we add kombucha. So like let's say like because this actually happened recently. So we had made a sauce. We didn't have enough time to like finish bottling it that day. So we just like blended it up and put the kombucha in it and like set it aside to bottle it the following weekend. And one of the fermenters popped. Like literally like.
Oh, no.
And what we think happened is that although the kombucha was at an acidic level that fermentation technically should stop, we think there was still some residual sugar that had not completely fermented out.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't let it ferment long enough. And so it basically reactivated the fermentation in the vessel.
Yeah.
So because the fermentation process is literally just the lactobacillus bacteria eating all the sugars and like the vegetables and peppers and fruit and garlic and that kind of stuff, right? And so we think that there was some residual sugar in the kombucha that caused the fermentation to like overdrive.
Wow.
And so
So you just like came back to the facility and like,
literally like the lid, which is like this like big like screw on lid that's about like this big, literally just went like shot up in the air.
Oh,
now granted, like that batch, like we threw away everything that was bad. We actually took away like the top probably like foot in the, because like they're like 60-gallon fermenters, right? And so we probably took off the top 10 to 12 inches.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that anything that had been exposed to the air for the little bit that it had been was thrown away.
Gotcha.
And then we resealed it. And so, but I mean, it's fine. Like, and that's the thing is too, is that when we bottle it, we pasteurize it. So like that kills the fermentation. It's just that like we ran into this really unique problem where we couldn't finish bottling it. So like we blended it and then added the kombucha and then let it sit for a week. And honestly, I think if we run it again, we just won't add the kombucha. We'll just add it until before bottling.
Yeah, before, yeah.
Right. Because then if there's any sort of like fermentation kickstart, it's not going to matter because the pasteurization process is going to kill it.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned pasteurization because like I've been seeing recently like people advocating against it.
Oh yeah, no, those people are fucking stupid.
Okay, so like I watched a few. I'm like, and then I was like, okay, like again, like I don't know what this is because I've just looked at. You're the one that like was showing me a little bit about the label, like reading, and it's like, oh yeah, the stuff like the order of the ingredients is the order of like what's in it the most or whatever.
Yeah, the weight.
But like pasteurized is something that I've seen on milk and dairy products and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh okay, I guess. And I was assuming that's what gets it ready to. Yes. Like be able to consume.
so like one of the other owners works for Daisy.
Okay.
And he works in their quality control department. And so his job is to check the quality of their sour cream that they make. Which also, like, from talking to him about Daisy, like, I'm not like a big snob for on brand by Daisy.
Okay.
Like sour cream or cottage cheese, you could literally eat off their floor.
Wow.
It is that clean. It is that well maintained and taken care of. Like Daisy, he was telling me at one point where they had, they threw away over $300,000 worth of sour cream because some metal shavings, which according to the FDA was safe to eat, was in their sour cream. And that didn't meet their quality. And they pitched $300,000 worth of sour cream.
Shit.
Yeah. Like I doubt, Equate or like Great Value brand sour cream is, which also like, unless it's like properly fermented, like Daisy, what they're doing is they're just adding like acetic acid to just like cream and like forcing a sourness. But it's not actually fermenting. Like sour cream is a fermented product. We'll never make it because like once dairy or meat is involved in like the food manufacturing process.
You said it's a fucking nightmare. Like
it's insane. But yeah, and so like we were all talking to Discord, which is what we use for a group chat, because we were at the Burleson Farmers Market and there was some insane person there selling raw milk.
Yeah, that's what I've been like seeing a lot.
Yeah, so like and like I could probably pull it up here on my phone, but I want to say it's something like in raw milk, there's literally hundreds of thousands of bacteria per like milliliter, or like whatever like the sample size is, and it's like real fucking small.
Yeah.
After Daisy is done filtering and pasteurizing, it's less than 5.
Wow.
And the thing is, like, if you're like a healthy person, raw milk probably won't make you sick. It might make your stomach upset, or maybe give you like acid reflux or like the shits or something. But like if you're a healthy person, you're probably going to be fine. If you're not a healthy person, it's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
Because it's literally filled with bad bacteria. And that thing is too, is that like, especially if it's like unfiltered.
Most people can barely handle regular like.
Well, and if it's like unfiltered raw milk, oh my God, because like milk is filled with like pus, and like dirt and blood and all this bad bacteria and stuff, and it's like. and like don't get me wrong, like I love milk. Yeah. So like when I was in college and like could actually buy my own groceries, I drank 3 gallons of milk a week. Like I did the.
Hold on, are you like drinking it?
And like one of my favorite like flexes is that I did the gallon challenge in less than 30 minutes.
You didn't throw up?
Nope. I was perfectly fine. One of the big problems that people have is they chug it. Yeah. And that gets air in there, and that's what's going to make you throw up. I literally poured myself a glass and drank a glass very slowly and controlled, talked to my friends. It was less than 30 minutes. I went through the entire gallon. And they were all just like, are you going to puke? I'm like, no, I'm perfectly fine. And then I like ate food.
See, that was a mistake I made. And the shitty part when I didn't try the challenge. So what we did, and I think we spoke about this, we did we were doing like a hot sauce challenge actually, and we tried the one that I got was because it was like randomized, and I got it was Mad Dog 357 one, which like I said, the Scoville, who knows if it's right or not, but it was like 1 million or whatever. And I don't know if it was, but it hurt. Like it hurt way more than like whatever the bomb was. Like it was pure pain.
It might have been because it was probably just like capsaicin extract or something. Right?
And it was terrible, and it was just like pain, and I was like, oh, like we had milk. So I start chugging one, but I start chugging it. And then I drink the entire thing, and I can't remember how long it was. But then I'm just like, this isn't going to stay down. So then, like, the hot sauce came back up, too. I was just like, oh, God.
And it's just as hot coming back up,
just as hot, and it just, like, hurt for longer. But
well, and your sinuses are so sensitive that because when I ate that ghost pepper, right? Like, like, that was, like, one of my biggest concerns is I was going to sneeze. Because it was all going to come up, and then like because like it's your sinuses, and like your sinuses like wrap around, right? And so it's like all that capsaicin would have gone up in there, and like that would have been a bad time. Yeah. Which actually too, I don't know if you heard, but this was like a few weeks ago. Like a kid in Arlington died. From the one chip
challenge. Yeah, you know what's funny is it's out there because we were gonna use it for a promotion thing like a month ago, and I just let it sit, and we just kept forgetting to do like the video that we were gonna do. And I was sitting at the table, and it's like on the table, the kitchen table, and I was reading that. I saw the video about it, and I looked it up, and I'm like, yeah, the kid died, and that's literally what's linked to it. And it was like a young kid, like I can't remember. He was like 17, 18, I can't remember.
Oh, I thought he was younger than that. But
maybe I don't know.
I mean, still, nevertheless, I mean, because I don't know what happened, like how it had killed him, but like I could see it like cause someone to have like, almost something kind of like anaphylaxis or something, right? Where it's like your throat closes up, or like almost like an extreme allergic reaction or like a panic attack.
all combined.
Right?
It's like
All kind of combined.
It might not be just solely like
or
the
like
spiciness
you
of it,
start
but-
like hyperventilating,
Yeah.
and things like that. Because I mean, like, the ghost pepper, it's like 1,000,000 Scoville, and I mean that was a bad time, but like I like approached it strategically. So like I made sure I didn't sneeze, like I made sure I didn't get sick, right? I did things to make sure that like once I'd kind of like calmed down from like the absolute worst pain of my life, like physical pain of my life. So it's like once I had like calmed down from that, I was like, okay, I need to be smart.
But like you had an idea of like, this is probably like thoughts like that is probably something like the average person is not going to think about, and it's just going to.
And thankfully, I was with like Matt and Justin, who are like two of the other owners of Freaky Ferments, and and they were like, don't do these things. So they were like, don't sneeze. And so, but like I could see how like a kid who's not like necessarily aware of what they're getting into eats that, has a really bad reaction, and then like starts having a panic attack or something.
Yeah.
Right. And just probably makes it worse, and like suffocates or whatever. And so
also someone maybe who's not used to even like spice at all like that, or like their like stomach isn't like used to anything, and it's like if that's like one of the first things they're doing at that like extreme level, like it could mess up all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah, but so like that thing is too is like I don't understand people that like chase heat.
Yeah, like, it's become a thing. Like, well, it's. I mean, I know like people who do it like for social media and stuff like that is one thing. But I've met people like I actually like work where I work now. I had to take my laptop into like the IT guy like department, so I took it over there, and I'm looking in his little station. He's got tons of like the hot, like really spicy hot sauces and stuff. And he starts telling me about it. He's like, yeah, like, and he's like, these are like these peanuts that are like how much, like whatever. And he's
I've
like,
tried them.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm looking at all these things, and I'm just like, oh, you just like doing that? Like, he's like, yeah, like I'll pop a few like throughout the day, and I'm just like,
who hurt him?
Yeah, like at work, I'm like, you work around people. Like, what do you do? He's like, yeah, they're not too bad. And he's like, you want one? I'm like, no,
I'm not fucking insane.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the rush.
Because at Zest Fest last year, I actually tried one of Johnny Scoville's things, are like those peanuts, and they're covered in, I think like the whole sleeve is like 12 million Scoville.
Oh, yeah. That's what you were telling me. They were covered in capsaicin crystals?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and granted, like, and like that's that whole thing where it's like I can keep a really stoic face, right? And so, but like I could feel where every single one of those crystals hit my mouth, and I could feel it go down my stomach and then move. Like it was just like to a degree, it wasn't as intense, but it was similar to the ghost pepper experience where I could actually feel it going through my intestines.
Oh, yeah.
After a while, it stopped. Whereas like the ghost pepper, it was like the entire like 45-minute drive home. Like I could feel it go through all 41 feet of my intestines, and it was like 45 minutes and some. But yeah, I mean, like I literally, because like there are people at markets that will tell me that kind of stuff, and I'm like, who hurt you?
Yeah,
like what's wrong?
Like, why do you want to do this?
Yeah, and that thing is too, that just kind of blows my mind, is that like a lot of those sauces and things like that don't even taste. Like they have no taste.
So yeah, that was one thing we brought up last time, where it's like, the line of hot sauce isn't to make the hottest like hot sauce, just to make stuff that you're gonna eat. Like, like things that like will actually taste good, like on things.
Yeah, because like our summer heat is probably the hottest sauce that we will ever make, and it is a 1-year aged version of Ghost, and it's about twice as hot.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so like Ghost is 11,000 Scoville, which doesn't seem like very much, but that's 11,000 Scoville in like a teaspoon, if that. Basically, it's like in a shake.
Yeah.
Like with like the flow restrictor, like one shake. And so like that doesn't seem like a lot. And so like 20,000 Scoville also doesn't seem like a lot when it's like you've got like, a ghost pepper is 1 million, or like a habanero is 350,000. Da Bomb is only like 125,000 Scoville, right? But that's like 125,000 Scoville in a shake. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, but like 20,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but that would be like sticking probably like 10 of the hottest serranos you can find in your mouth at one time and eating them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, But the difference though is that like Ghost or Summer Heat aren't so unbelievably hot that you wouldn't be able to taste like what it's mixed with or what it's put on.
Because like for me, Ghost was like too hot for like eating. Like
until you get pregnant, and it's great.
And then you just need it.
Yeah.
But like DJ, like my roommate, he was like, oh, I like because I was like the bottle's like going down pretty soon, like pretty fast. He's like, yeah, that's the one I use like on everything. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, like it's hot, but I like it. Like it tastes good. But it's that balance. Like you want stuff to be. You know, like again, in at least my household, and like with us and our culture, like my mom was like, yeah, like I make stuff that's spicy, but you can still eat it. Like you're still gonna enjoy like eating it. You might be the whole time, but it's not like you will still be able to taste the food underneath it. You know,
which that's just what blows my mind is that when people eat or drink, like eat food or drink drinks that are just so hot you literally can't taste like what's in it. And so it blows my mind because like I've had some hot sauces that are like that where like they're just really really hot, but they don't taste like anything, or they just taste like hot vinegar, and like I'm not a fan of that. But yeah, so
well, that's one thing I've found fascinating. Though I mean, last time we did like a taste test with like six or seven of them.
Yeah, it was a good chunk.
They were like they each had their own distinct flavor to them. When normally like. Before, when I was seeing hot sauces, it was like it either tastes like Tabasco Valentina or it's just super fucking spicy. Like those are the three like the super spicy ones. I was like, oh, that's not a flavor. I just know that it's hot. Like that's the only thing, whatever. With like last time when we tried like a bunch of different ones, and even like now trying these, like they all have like a distinct like actual flavor profile. Yep. Like you can actually taste like the ginger lemon one. Like I remember was like completely different from like a hot sauce. I was like, oh, that's definitely like super different. Like the difference between like the verde and like the smoking one. Like you know what I mean? They just like a little bit of difference in there.
Well, and like I chalk that up to us collectively as a group, especially so like a lot of our sauces were designed by Taylor, and he's just got a knack.
Yeah.
For it, and but like how we approach making our sauce is like I want something that would taste good on this, and like we do it with like food or drink in mind from the start. And so like roasted sweet heat, which I think was one of the sauces that we tried last time, like you know that was my contribution. That's one of my sauces. Desert Heat is a mixture between me and Matt. And so, but like how we approached how we approach all of our sauces, it's like, I want a roasted garlic sauce because I really like roasted garlic. And I think these foods that would benefit from a roasted garlic hot sauce. And like, that's where sweet heat came from.
Yeah.
Right. And so, whereas I think a lot of like companies, it's just like, we want the hottest sauce on the shelf.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind.
Because I think like because there's so many like standard hot sauces, it's like the only thing that like catches the attention of like other than like your staples is like, oh, this one's super spicy. Like that, it's like it feels like the cop out to like how to stand above like whatever like your standard sauces. Like, oh, ours is really fucking hot. Like,
yeah, it's just like the easiest thing to do.
Yeah,
because I mean like it takes a lot of work and a lot of like brain power and thought and skill to make a sauce that tastes good.
Yeah, no, I.
And granted, to a degree, I mean, we kind of get lucky because, like, fermented hot sauce, just because, like, I've had other fermented hot sauces, and, like, in general, like, they all taste good. And that's because, like, all those ingredients depend upon how, you know, because, like, we do about a month fermentation. Like, all those ingredients are sitting together for a month. And so, like, during that time, the lactobacillus breaks down all the sugars and everything that's in that and allows all those ingredients to kind of mesh and become combined and get really rich and complex. And whereas like a non-fermented sauce, they're literally just like blending, like the day they get the ingredients, they blend them up, they add a bunch of vinegar to it and put it in a bottle. And like, there's no time for those ingredients to like get happy.
Yeah.
To quote Emerald, there's no time for them to get happy together. And
it's like a different goal in mind, I guess, for those. Like, you know, it's just like, oh, let's pump something out that's gonna have the similar flavor to like this. And
I mean, like, who knows? One day we might do like, because like Matt, I think one time had made what we call the F-bomb sauce, and it literally was just like ground ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers and like a habanero. It was like 4 or 5 different real fucking hot peppers.
Yeah.
And like he just like ground it. It was like a paste, and he put it in like one of those like little like 1 ounce glass jars.
Yeah.
You couldn't even pour it. Like you had to like take it out with a toothpick.
Oh my God.
And he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty fucking hot." And I'm like, I'll take your word on it because I will never eat it.
Holy shit.
And and so I mean,
it's not like out of
one
the
day
question.
we might do something like that.
But
I
I don't know. That's for me. I like that there's a really cool creative aspect to making a product, like, and because it's again like it's not something I normally think about when I think about like anything that I'm like consuming. But like when I do get that satisfaction of like, oh, like this was made with like in like stuff that was put in here intently, like on purpose. Like it was because like they were looking for this sort of flavor profile or making something different. It just shows a little bit more attention and like care to like stuff that you're making and that in turn you're consuming. And it's just like, I don't know, it just adds a little bit other layer of like specialness to it, but also like it reflects in the actual flavor and stuff.
well, because like who's like your favorite music artist?
Me,
Like of all time? Yeah.
of all time. Is he up here? No, he's not up here. Of all time, it's this Mexican guy named Juan Gabriel. But my favorite band at the moment is this band called Sleep Token.
Why do you like him?
They write a lot of cool stuff, but lately, I mean, with everything, they've always written really different stuff and things that shouldn't necessarily go together. Putting those together and making like something unique, it doesn't feel cookie cutter.
Yeah. See, and like the reason why I asked that is because I think there's a lot of like similarity. Not saying that like, oh, we're like great artists or musicians, right? But it's like taking like things that should not go together and making them sound good takes a lot of intention, a lot of thought, a lot of like thinking, you know, and mastery, right? To do that. And I mean, like to a degree, that's kind of like what we do with our hot sauce. Like we think a lot. And like when we do test batches, because like I'm like one of the last ones that actually does like proper test batching. And so like when we do that kind of stuff, it's all with the mindset of like we have a goal in mind, we want to be able to make it work, and so we're going to figure out how to do that. And I imagine like with that band, there's probably a lot of that where it's like they're sitting down and thinking about how they want to get this song or like this album to be and like all that kind of stuff, I would imagine.
Well, yeah,
right?
like I mean, I used to play in a band and like write music, and that's the way we would tackle some stuff. Sometimes we'd had like what you were saying about like, oh, we would try to make something that would go well on this. So that's with a similar notion. We'd be like, oh, I want this song to invoke this emotion or make people do this at shows or this and that. Like how, and like that's the notion. Okay, how do we write something that's gonna get there? You know what I mean? How to figure that out? What parts are gonna be placed together to figure that stuff out? And like you said, it's some of the stuff where you're like, oh, that came on like a chance. We got lucky. Like that happens. I feel like that happens a lot with musicians because once you get to a point where everything you think all your songs are working because they are very easy to write, you realize it because they got pointed out to me. I was like, oh, like we were writing a new song and I was just like, oh, this can go right after this and then we can do this. And then like my bassist pointed out and he's like, oh, you know, that's what we did on like the last 2 songs. And I was like, what do you mean? And he like pointed out the structure. I was like, I was writing the same song and just adding different things to it. Yeah. But I thought it was good because it was following that same formula. And I'm like, oh, it's easy. I figured it out. And I realized the songs that ended up being my favorite ended up being those complicated ones where it took forever to figure out like how to write this. Like, oh, what goes here? Or like someone throwing an idea out and be like, I can't, like, that's not going to work. And then eventually working on it until it did. Like, it shows the effort, I guess. It's just, and in a level of just like, just genuine is the word that I keep coming back to, like finding people who are actually making genuine art. And I've looked at that. I've looked into like food and like the hot sauce and stuff like that with that same aspect that I look at like you know, an artist, a painter, a musician. I've looked at it through all the same lenses, and it's really neat to see someone creating like, again, a product in the same manner. So like that's where I relate it to, like the way you're describing, like the way y'all think about like the ideas and actually the process of it is the same way like I can relate it to like like how I've seen people create music, how I've seen people create art pieces and stuff like that. It's all very translates into like kind of similar language.
Yeah, and like one of my favorite artists is Stravinsky, and so he did like one of my favorite songs of his is the Firebird Suite, which I don't know if you're familiar with it. Have you seen like Fantasia 2000?
A while ago.
It was probably been like in 2000,
yeah.
right? So in Fantasia 2000, Stravinsky's Firebird Suite is like what plays in the sequence where it's like the green grass lady and like is like getting burnt by fire and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but like Stravinsky wrote that piece to be as atonal as possible. And so like atonal means that like none of the key signatures make sense. Okay. So it's like having like a B on a B flat next to each other. Right? And so, but if you do it well, it sounds amazing. But it takes way more work and thought and intention to like do it well. And I don't believe it was Stravinsky's Firebird Suite. I think it was one of the pieces that he wrote before that. Apparently like drew audience members into such a frenzy that they like fled the theater because like they couldn't understand. Yeah. Because like they were hearing all these like discordant notes and like odd time signatures and stuff sounding correct. Yeah. Right. So like in like the Firebird Suite, it's like a 30-minute long piece, but you can pretty much like start at kind of like the middle, which is like when it picks up. And it's like all like it's like the first half of like this particular chunk, which is I think like a 6-minute bit of the symphony. Is like, or suite is like almost entirely in 6/8. Mm-hmm. And then at like a couple points or at one point in particular, it switches to 6/4. And then like once like all the fast bits calm down, which like the fast bits are all in 6/8 and then at one point in 6/4 and then back to 6/8, but it sounds like it's in like 7/8.
Oh my gosh.
Or like 9/8 or something. Cause it's like really weird. Cause it's like how it sounds like where like the downbeat should be is not where the downbeat should be. Yeah. And then it eventually goes to 3/2, and it's like these like really like just like chord or like scale builds over and over and over again. And then it's just like these like whole notes and like half note. It's like I have all these notes where it's like a B on a B flat or things like that. But it's like all the other notes like fill it out to make it sound correct. Yeah. And so you just have like this like really complex sound that doesn't sound complex. And you have like these really complex time signatures that don't sound complex. Yeah. And then like the finale bit is like 6/4, and then it switches to 7/4. Or no, sorry. I think it's 6/8 that switches to 7/8 to then 7/4. And like at no point is the downbeat where you think it should be. Wow. In like the entire finale, which is like 2 minutes long. And then like it ends with like 7 like whole note builds, like in like one long crescendo, and like none of those like chords are tonal chords. They're all atonal. Like it's all like notes that should not be on top of each other. But it sounds like hyper rich and hyper complex. And like it's one of the reasons why I like Stravinsky's writing is because like this is a man with like intention. Mm-hmm. Like everything about his music was like designed and like intended. And so, and again, like I feel like it's like very arrogant of me to be like, and so's our sauce. Yeah. But I mean like he's
this
like
is Stravinsky right here.
Yeah,
in a
and
bottle.
so, but like I find musicians in general that just do like really kind of like intentional, complex stuff to be really fascinating. Like, because like I was a band nerd, obviously. It's like if I like Stravinsky, and so, but like Philip Glass is another composer that like he's a modern composer, and because I think like Stravinsky was like either late 1800s, early 1900s. I think early 1900s. Yeah. And but like Philip Glass is a modern composer, and like a lot of his music is like hyper. It's like building level of complexity to then a reducing level of complexity. Like it's all like crescendos and diminuendos of like not only like just like intensity but complexity, and like his music is kind of similar in that where he uses like really unique time signatures and like
interesting. That's the first time I've heard like a crescendo in complexity.
Yes, and I honestly, I think that's the best way to like describe like Philip Glass's music is like it goes through like these kind of like waves, like crescendos and diminuendos of like complexity and also intensity. Like one of like his most famous songs is like "Prue to Go," which have you seen Watchmen?
Yes.
So like when Dr. Manhattan like rips apart, that's "Prue to Go." That's a Philip Glass song. Where it's like and like and then like the choir is like coming in and like that's like when like "Prue to Go" is at its most complex and most intense. And so like his music is like some of the best music that you just need to like zone out and work.
Yeah.
Like put on Philip Glass. But even like, you know, I don't know. Cause I know like a lot of people like, I feel like nowadays don't really like the Beatles. Like I absolutely love the Beatles. And that's something I like about them is like a lot of their music was like highly intentional. And like thought out and planned.
Yeah.
And like there was like actual like thought that went into it. Which fun fact, did you know that Eleanor Rigsby was supposed to be poppy in its sound?
No.
Yeah. So like this like very like deep and depressing song about this old lady dying and like the priest that's burying her not giving a shit, right? Like like this like very like all strings and everything. Like it was originally supposed to sound very poppy. And like they were going to do it that way on purpose to show the, I guess, like a dichotomy between the seriousness of like the lyrics and the levity of the music.
Oh, I love like stuff like that.
So
you know
like
what I mean?
Tears for Fears, they're the ones that originally did.
They do.
It was popularized in Donnie Darko, and it was made to be like really sad and serious. Like here, let me see. It's like, "Hello, teacher, tell me what's my lesson."
Damn, no, that's not the one I know. I know like 1, 2, 3.
Sorry,
But
it's in like my liked songs real fast. Mad World.
What? Oh yeah.
So like Tears of Fears were the ones that originally did it, and it's like this like super poppy, like jazzy song. Like at one part there's like a couple different parts. There's like a whole like saxophone trombone like bit that comes in, and then like, but the one like the version that like most people are familiar with, which is from like Donnie Darko, is this really like, "Hello teacher, tell me what's my," you know, where it's like really like soft and quiet and slow. But like the Tears of Fear one is like
interesting,
like really poppy, and like, and I think like the purpose of it was to like highlight like how fucked up the song is, and like, but like, oh wow, it's like Eleanor Rigsby was going to be like that, where it was like originally, and I want to say it was like their producer, I can't remember his name, but he was like their like long running producer. Was like, "You can't do it this way." like people aren't gonna get it.
So like in a more like modern approach to that, there's a band. It's funny. It's a band called Bill Murray, spelled Bilmuri. But all these songs that this guy writes are super depressing, like super depressing, and they're sad. And like even like on stage, he talks about like, yeah, like, you know, when I started this project, like I didn't really care too much about it. Like he was on the verge of like, you know, committing suicide, and it's to this day one of the funnest shows I've ever been to. Like the music is so like you're having like a fun party the entire time, and then all these songs are about how depressed he is and like what he's going through, and I'm like, that's such a great juxtaposition. Like I love that. Like it is I don't know. It's so cool to me. Like, hey, like to me, like in the simplest form, it was like, yeah, I'm sad, but if we put some cool music behind it, I can pretend not to be, or like, you know, or at least like, you know, just like,
it's like being depressed on antidepressants,
right?
It's like I'm sad, but I don't feel it.
Yeah, and it was I don't know. It was just such a like a fun time and a fun show. And then you're talking about like complexities and time signatures. There's a lot like in like I guess more modern stuff. There's like progressive metal that does that a lot with like different. Or progressive rock that messes with time signatures like that as well, like stuff like I'm trying to think of right now. I think there's like a band called Animals as Leaders, and there's like it's pretty intense stuff. And then there's a genre called like math rock, and the reason they call it math rock is because all the time signatures are like weird ones and like not your normal ones, and it's very cool to see. Like actually Denton has a really big math rock scene, and there's all these bands, and it's just actually,
oh my God.
there's a festival happening in October called Plus Fest.
When is it? Well, I hope it's not while I'm gone. When is it?
It might be. It's the 14th and the 15th.
I'll be back.
Yeah. So it's called Plus Fest, and they have like all these for a majority part of like math rock bands, and they just play like all these. They sound like just your normal songs, but then you realize like when you're counting, it's like, oh, this is, if you even count, if you get that.
Oh,
you know?
I'm one of those.
But if you're one of those, you're like, what is this? That's. And then they're like within the same songs, they'll have like different time signature changes and stuff like that. It's really cool and interesting. But yeah, and most of the time when I meet some of those bands, like there's a band that's actually coming back for that show. It's a band called Terror Collective that they're out of Denton. But I think the entire band was like jazz musicians. So like and
oh my god,
yeah. So and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean, of how it works. But like it's I guess like a little bit more of like the modern take on like that same style that you're talking about. But yeah, math rock is. I know it's like
please send me like email me some
sure,
of your
yeah.
favorite math rock bands because like I didn't know that was a thing and I'm just like super jazzed about
yeah, there's a bunch of like cool stuff. Like I remember I don't know if they're necessarily math rock. There might be, but there's a band coming to that festival called Silhouette of Nude, and it's a band from Japan, and they're just wild. Like we saw them show. They do a show, and then he got one of those little toy guns you buy at like the dollar store, and like put it into the pickups of his guitar, like sampled it on the spot, and was like doing a whole bunch of like different like weird stuff with it. But some of the most like entertaining like shows ever. But yeah, like our friend. Danny is putting on that fest, and he's done it for a few years. But I think we're out there vending, like we're have like a vendor table or whatever. But yeah, I am math rock is just so interesting, and it's the same. So it's kind of the same similar sentiment that you're talking about of like it's just interesting. Like everything is so intricate that you have to pay attention to like what you're doing. There's also another band I know here. I think I don't know which city they call, but it's in the area. It's a band called Animal Jam, and they started off in the same thing with like math rock stuff, and their guitar players, what I mean, but they have 3 guitar players, and I remember like I had them here, we were talking, and I was like, how do you write 3 guitar parts? Like, are you playing the same stuff like on some of the parts or things like that?
And things like that.
Everybody is playing something different. Like they harmonize on some stuff, but when you hear the song itself, like it works. It's one sound. So, and then we were talking. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me if one of you doesn't play exactly right, it screws the whole thing up. And he's like, yeah. It's like, so everybody has to be playing exactly what they need to play.
To me, that sounds like Stravinsky or like Philip Glass.
Yeah,
because like, especially like Philip Glass, because like he'll have all these different like vocals, right, or like these different voices within a piece. And they're all doing different things, somewhat similar, but they're all doing different things. That way, when they line up, it like is the melody.
It is, yeah. So that's the concept. Yeah. So the guitar player for that band, like the main writer is called Johnny Walden, and he, I believe, either I know he's a jazz musician, but he took some sort of like classic and then composing and stuff like that. So he does a lot of the writing, but that's what they were telling. They basically explained is that we're all playing 3 different separate parts, but when you hear it, it sounds like it's just the one melody. So it's like these 3 things just blending and doing that. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I didn't even like at all pay attention. I was just always wondering. I was like, oh, you must be playing the same thing because it sounds like one thing. And it's like, no, we're all playing different things. It just combined like very like neatly.
That's oh my God. Like, so because like I remember this, and like I was like little when I saw this, but it was on like Good Morning America or like the Today Show or something. But it was like this family of like 9 kids or something, and they all played pianos. And like they brought them on, and like they played like a bunch of different music, but it was like that where it's like each one of them played a different like voice in like the music or the songs or whatever. And because it was all piano, it all sounded like it was coming from one piano.
Oh wow.
But it was 9. And they were all, and it was one of those things where it's like if one of them like had messed up, the entire thing would have like like the illusion would have broken, right? And so and like I don't even like remember like what they were playing or who they are. Like I was like very little, and it blew my mind because it was like 7 or 9 kids were all like they were all in like one family, so probably either like Catholic or Mormon, and just like playing on grand pianos, but it all sounded like it was coming from one, but it was 9. And like some of them were
That's
like
awesome.
only the low
Yeah.
keys, some of them were only the high keys, right? But it sounded like as if it was coming from one piano.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it
That's
just
insane. 9 people's
absolutely
nuts.
absolutely mind blowing. Yeah, I didn't know like math rock was a thing. Like
Yeah, yeah.
because that's one of like my blind spots with music is that it's pretty much like modern stuff. I know absolutely nothing about.
And I'm on the opposite. Like I know like stuff like I was like, oh, I know some of that, but I've never like sat down and listened.
Oh.
And I've been okay with like I'm never gonna listen to like everything like it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's why I like being able to do what I do, because I discover so much new things like from people. And like I had these kids in here from a band called Turf Burner, and it's like they're like a new metal band that got into like hardcore music and stuff like that. But they were going through their influences, and they're like, yeah, we have. He's like, oh, we prepared this, like we prepared a list, and they must have listed off 50 bands off the top of their head that I had never heard, like any of them. And I was just like, that is awesome. I go,
Yes.
one, I go, you're suggesting a bunch of stuff that I can listen to. And two, I'm like, there is like, when I was younger, I would have the arrogance of like, oh, I know what I like, and that's it. Like, I don't have to listen to anything else. And as I've gotten older, I'm just like, I have no clue what I like, and it changes so often. And I love when people like just send me new stuff. And I used to not get past the apprehension of like, this isn't my, like I would do a listen and be like, this isn't my thing.
Yeah.
And I would always just get like, I wouldn't give it a chance. And like now I'm like, all right, let me give it more chances, more time. And then now sometimes I'll come back to music like a year, 2 years later and just be like, oh, now it makes sense to me.
Yes.
Or now it's like in this spot or whatever. But the fact that like there will always be something completely like new and great to listen to, and that's just even going forward. Then you can also go the opposite direction and hear a bunch of like other stuff like that comes through. But everything's just getting built off of the same influences over and over, like with new stuff. And yeah, I became less of like, oh, I don't understand this. I became less of like, oh, the new music sucks, and more of like, oh, I just don't understand it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Well, and again, it's so like because like I'm a huge like sci-fi nerd and just like classical music nerd and things like that. There's a video on YouTube. It's called like Why John Williams is the Best. And I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but he takes one song out of each of the Star Wars films, like out of the main 9, and analyzes them. And then, but like the one that sticks out to me the most is like why John Williams is probably one of the greatest composers that has ever lived. Is that he talks about the Battle of Crate theme from the 8th film, so from The Last Jedi, and he combines, I think, 7 or 8 different distinct themes into one long piece that's like 9 minutes long.
wow.
And does it using like wild, like, so like metric modulation is like how you change from one key signature to the other without like stopping. And then he does the same thing, but I don't remember what it's called, but with key signatures, where you change key signatures without making it obvious that you have changed a key signature.
Yeah.
And so, because it's like some of the songs are like 9:15.
Why?
I didn't know that was a key signature, right? And so, yeah, and so it's like he does these like really like wild, like when he's like transitioning between the different themes, because like the Battle of Crate is this like really intense, almost like Battle of Hoth sequence, like from the 5th film. And so it's like this like really complex where we're like following multiple viewpoint characters throughout this battle, who all kind of have their own little like individual theme, and the music theory guy like puts up like the sheet music on the screen, and it's like, that doesn't even make sense. But it's just like this like hyper complexity. And so I really think I'm gonna like math rock, because like I feel like it's a lot of that where it's like, and then suddenly we're in 9:15 pretty
much,
right?
yeah,
and
yeah.
so
And it, like, and
to get us to like 4/4,
There's levels to it. There's like simple like math rock stuff, which I guess you would call it simple, but it's a little easier to follow, and then it just builds and and gets like wilder from there. But no, it's really neat. Yeah, I definitely think you'll enjoy it. I'll find some and I'll send some your way in complexity.
Please do. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we're gonna prep the last drink, and then we'll get to wrapping up.
Yay!
So we're back. We prepared the last drink, which is right here. This one DJ called the Fuzzy Mary. So basically, play on a Bloody Mary with the hot fuzz hot sauce, which this one has peach in it, right?
Yes. So Hot Fuzz is a peach habanero with ají chilies from Chile. We actually bumped into a lady from double check to make sure it's recording.
No, it's
Okay. So I actually bumped into a lady from at the Dallas Farmers Market who was from Chile, and she had said that there they go by as a different name, which isn't surprising because, like, you know, we just pick the name that we want to call it, and so. But ají chilies are like these like itty bitty little like yellow chili like peppers, almost look like kernels of corn, and so they're so like they have like this very like floral flavor to them. They're also pretty hot. So like when we made a Hot Fuzz, its number one ingredient is peaches. And so peach, just like watermelon, is a really subtle flavor. So when we were talking about earlier about how, like, you know, this is our first batch and like likely it's going to go through change. So with Hot Fuzz, we're probably going to double or triple the amount of peaches that are in it compared to now. Yeah. And we're also probably going to roast most of them. Ooh. So in this particular batch, I also like that my shirt kind of matches it. So like in this particular batch, we did, I think like a few 100 pounds or like a couple 100 pounds of peaches. Half of those went in fermentation. The other half were post fermentation. So for instance, like fire melon, the water, or like strawberry bonnet, the fruit is added post fermentation. So that way it retains its sweetness, right? Because the fermentation eats all those sugars, right? So Hot Fuzz, about half the peaches were fermented and the other half were not. And the half that were not fermented, we roasted. So about a quarter of the peaches in it are roasted. The roasting does bring out more sweetness. And so we'll probably like double or triple the amount of peaches that are in that sauce. And then we'll probably roast almost all of them. Just because like the roasting does bring out some additional sweetness. And so, but like ajis have this really floral flavor. And so I like to describe this as like an aromatic sauce. Okay. So like it smells like peaches. Does this already have peach in it or do we need to add it? Okay. Yeah. So like it smells like peaches, but it tastes like flowers. And so when it comes to foods, typically we kind of describe it as like almost like a mix between like our mango pineapple habanero and our ginger cayenne lemon. So like mango pineapple, it goes really good on like grilled chicken and grilled fish. But like ginger cayenne lemon, it goes good on pork, especially grilled. We think like this is just like a good grilling sauce in general. So like grilled pork and even rice dishes, which is another thing that like ginger cayenne lemon is really good on. Oh, nice. And so, but also too, I mean, like as like the five of us that own the company, right? So it's like me, Justin, Chad, Matt, and Taylor. Like we eat these on everything. Yeah. And so for us, like one of our biggest struggles is trying to figure out like what specifically would this go well with other than just like on top of everything. And so like on our website, we actually have, if you go to the recipe page of our website, there not only can you find recipes that people have submitted, you can submit your own.
Oh, that's cool.
And we'll send you a 10% off coupon for our online store. So please submit all these drink recipes. We currently do not have a limit on how many you could submit. So don't spam us. But you know, don't do like 3 a day. But do like every time you need more sauce, submit a recipe. And it doesn't have to be like Michelin star. Like there's a recipe on there that is totally not from HelloFresh that we didn't have to have him retake the photo because the box was in the background. Didn't happen, right? And there's like a cheese ball recipe on there that like we put up there that was totally not from the Joy of Cooking cookbook that like everyone's grandma has, right? It's like definitely that like blue gingham like, oh my God. Joy of Cooking, right? And literally it was just a cheese ball recipe that Taylor added, I think, Daily Driver to. That was it. So it just needs to like taste good and be incorporated in it. So like when we were trying the tacos, like that would not count because we just poured it on top. Poured it on it. But like had that been like either a part of a marinade or like had been like mixed like an
aioli or something like that, or
mixed in somehow, that would count. So yeah, so like the aioli, right? You like mix it with mayonnaise and some other stuff, and then like just then pour that on top of your taco. Perfectly fine. Nice. And so we'll send you a 10% off coupon. So yeah, please submit all of these drink recipes.
Nice. DJ's been trying to do combine like something with like mixology, and like we've been looking at making like some content for him. So we might make like actual videos of creating them and stuff, and we'll send them to you.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. We would definitely be down with that. So anyway, so cheers on this.
Oh, okay.
So, as I was telling you before we started, I don't like Bloody Marys.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Ooh, you need more kick?
Yeah, I could use probably a little bit more. But like
because you said tomato juice, right?
Yeah, that doesn't taste like shitty. Right? Like, so I guess like the best way to kind of describe this is it has like a really unique savory quality to it. And like I typically don't like salt on the rim. But like,
yeah, this is the one we didn't do with Tahini. We did with
So like this tastes like the best the best tomato soup I've ever had. Like,
but it gets you drunk.
It's like a wild drink, right? But
alcoholic tomato soup.
So it's got like a savoriness to it, a saltiness to it, a little bit of that heat because it's like because I feel like that salt is like mixed with tahini or something, and maybe some other stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually tahini. I forgot what it is.
I just like that he called it thunder salt.
Yeah, I don't know if like they created that at the post, like this particular mixture, or how they did it, but I believe that's what it is.
Okay, so definitely like secret salt. We can't not analyze what's in it.
We can't. I mean, I'll, if I knew what it was, I would tell you.
But no, but like I really like that. Like it's savory, it's a little salty. There's still just like a hint of like not like yeah, almost like a little bit of sweetness that probably comes from the tomato. Man, that's good. You might have to pour me another one.
I think we still have some.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, we'll probably either figure out how to get these up and post it so you can make them on your own, or I'm pretty sure you can go ask DJ at the post.
Yeah, please do. Oh my god, like they need to add this.
Yeah,
on their menu. Like out of the 3 that we tried,
this one,
because like being like a person that doesn't like Bloody Marys, like this is blowing my mind. Like I'm having like a mild like existential crisis where it's like, did I actually like Bloody Marys the entire time,
or is it that we've already had 2 drinks before this?
Oh no, it's it's not that. But no, I mean like that's amazing. Wow.
I'm just gonna play these clips over and over for DJ.
Yeah, that's blowing my mind. DJ, thank you. Thank you. So no, I mean like that's super good. Yeah, like literally, I can't think of anything because my brain is just like, you hate Bloody Marys, and so
apparently you don't.
Yeah, no. Oh my god, it's like the first time I had like fish and chips after like 20 years of not liking fish, and then really liking fish and chips, and like because like my wife Mary and I were on a date. We were in Bloomington, Indiana, which is where IU is. We were there. Hanging out actually with Nathan,
really?
whom to go see in Korea, and so he was living in Bloomington, and we went to this like really like kind of like famous for the area like Irish restaurant, and so we got Mary. Well, I got like a burger, and Mary got the fish and chips, but she knew that we were probably going to switch plates, which is what happened.
Yeah,
and I'm just like eating the fish and chips, and I'm like halfway through, I'm like, I'm eating fish. And this is amazing. And like I just like stopped for like 5 minutes because I was like, my entire life is a lie. And I feel like I'm like going through that same like emotion right now. I'm like, my entire life is a lie. This is a simulation.
It's a simulation.
They changed the code. I like
just brain like chemical reactions. It's not you in charge of it.
Yeah, it's not me in charge. It's the Bloody Mary.
It's the Bloody
like that is wild. Yeah, because like I had like an entire thing I was going to talk about, and I can't even like think about it because this is so good.
Good.
God,
that's the way it should be. It's the way.
That's absolutely wild.
That's a high note. That's a high note to actually probably wrap. That's what I was looking at. That we're actually at the end of those batteries. So,
oh, nice. Yeah.
So we're right there. But man, thank you for stopping by, and honestly, like for letting us kind of mess with these hot sauces. First of all, they're amazing, and yeah, like they're just super good. It's the hot sauce that I like for bottled hot sauces. It's like what I like tell everybody to get and stuff. It's just again like taste the process by which it's made, the company itself. Like it's I don't know. It's just got a bunch of like actually good and good people behind it, people who care about their product, and it's cool. And you are always trying to do new stuff, like when you tell like the new flavors that you have coming out, the new ideas and things like that. It's really cool and it's really fascinating. And that's why, like, I it's definitely like a product that I recommend to people, and it's delicious. It's
Well, thank
delicious.
you. And that's the thing is, so it's like if any of your like listeners or viewers want to find us, you can always follow us on social media. I generally suggest that people do that for two reasons. Number one, you're going to know where we are. So we do the Dallas Farmers Market almost every weekend, but we don't do it every weekend because like if it's real fucking hot, we're not going to be out there. And then we also do a lot of markets at breweries, which I think is like the first time you met us was at one of the breweries. I think.
I met I think it was Chad who I met.
Yeah.
And it was at the Weird Wednesday market.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that
Weird
my friend
Wednesday.
Greg does. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we do like we do like Friday on the Green in like Fort Worth. Where there's like a concert. Like I highly suggest, even if you don't go there to see us, like go. They're a lot of fun. Last time I was there, they did a drag show. I just like stopped selling hot sauce because I was seeing like grown like just like 6 foot tall drag queens doing like backflips and heels.
Yeah.
Absolutely blew my mind.
Amazing.
And like it's like I can't do that. I could barely walk in heels. I couldn't like do like a backflip. And so, but yeah, and so like you'll know where we are, and then also you'll know when we release new sauces. So also one of the sauces I was hoping to bring, but I just didn't have the opportunity to, is so we just bottled our roasted Hatch chili sauce, and so that is made with Hatch green chilies that we roast ourselves. We only make that sauce during Hatch season. So if you get like Hatch products all year round, you're just getting Anaheims. That's it. Because like all a Hatch chili is an Anaheim grown in Hatch, New Mexico, but there's something unique about like the like soil chemistry and the environment there. And we make it is as hot as ketchup. Like we purposely make it to be not hot at all because everybody should be able to enjoy hot sauce. Yeah. Not just like pepperheads. And then like desert heat and summer heat, those two sauces I was talking about, they're going to be out here pretty soon. And then especially for like holiday seasons and things like that, we do a bunch of like bundles and stuff like closer to like end of November, early December. Yeah. And the thing is too is like whenever we like launch new sauces, we do like giveaways on our Facebook and like Instagram. It's literally like, comment, share, and like no one does it. So like you have a high likelihood of winning free sauce if you do it. And so, and then we're going to be at the state fair throughout the 22nd. So, I mean, like, if any of you guys want to come to the state fair and hang out,
actually, yeah, well, I think I'm going like twice. So,
yeah, nice. Yeah. So, I mean, like, depending upon when you go, you might bump into me, or you'll probably bump into one of the other guys. And so, yeah, I mean, like, you guys can find us at like various like local markets here in the Fort Worth area, or at the Dallas Farmers Market. We're also going to be at the Dallas Oktoberfest.
Oh, nice.
We're going to be at Veg Fest in Fort Worth, which this shows it's like a vegetable or like vegetarian festival, or like vegan festival. But this shows like the collective 12-year-old sense of humor that we have, that we've been internally calling it Vag Fest. Nice.
I know that one. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. And so
you were just talking about your mom watching this.
Yeah.
You almost made it.
Sorry, Mom. And then we're also going to be at Celebramos, I think, which is like at the Botanical Garden, like Fort Worth Botanic Garden.
What's that?
In like a week or so. So yeah, so like we've got actually like this entire month of October is going to be crazy. Yeah. Because we've got the state fair on top of a bunch of other things. So like, and that's the thing is too, is that like if you don't like live in the Metroplex or like can't come see us, you can always order online. Any purchase of 35 or more is free shipping. We ship anywhere in the US. Unless like if you live internationally, you'll have to buy it wholesale, which means like 3 or 4 or 5 cases. Which actually I think since we've met, there's like a random grocery store restaurant in Germany that has our hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah. So it's owned by a bunch of sick. And so it's owned by a bunch of Turkish guys, and they were the ones that like clued us into the Aleppo peppers for Strawberry Bonnet.
That's so cool.
And so they were like, "Oh, you got to try like Aleppo peppers. They're great." And so like we added the Aleppos into Strawberry Bonnet, and honestly, I think that's like what helps round out the sauce, is just like because like it just has like this mellow fruitiness to it. Yeah. And so, yeah, so like if you happen to find I forget where it is in Germany, but we've got it on our website. So if you happen to find yourself over there, you can always get some sauce there.
That's awesome.
But yeah, please come out, find us, order online. And then, as I said, like we do like giveaways and stuff whenever we launch new sauce, and hardly no one takes us up on it. So it's almost guaranteed you're gonna win.
You're gonna win some free sauce, come up with some recipes, get some discounts, or just go out and buy it. Find them at one of these markets and stuff because it is amazing and it's a great company to support. And I honestly, like, I'm so happy that this like actually like came together for like, because it was so weird that I had been eating the hot sauce for like a year before, and it was like, hey, do you want to do this? Sure. And like now it's like your second time on, and now like, oh, okay.
100%. I will come back as many times as you allow me to come back on.
You're always welcome here, absolutely. But yeah, like, because like I think the ones you gave us last time, like I was like, you know, it'd be cool. I was giving them to like anytime I had somebody on here and they were like, oh yeah, like I like hot, like a hot sauce thing would come up. I'm like, hey, do you want to try one? And I would like give one to like so we like gave them to like guests and stuff like that.
My God, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, John, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for providing hot sauces and for letting us mess around with them.
Awesome.
And telling us about the simulation. Life's a lie. Okay, you're not in charge of any of your emotions. We will. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will see you guys next time.
Or not.
Sounds and breakdowns. Love me instead.